Hello everyone, and welcome to my video tutorial. Today I'm going to explain all the types of perspective and give you an idea of how to use them. And to begin with, I'm going to just do a little visual demonstration so that it's a little bit easier to understand using this box that I have. Okay, so we'll start with 1-point perspective. 1-point perspective, we use it when we can only see the front face of the object. I'll try and keep this explanation as simple as possible. 1-point perspective is not a perspective we actually see very often in real life, but it's one that our brain interprets a lot in real life. So the difference is usually we actually see everything in 3-point perspective, but that's also a lot of information for our minds to handle. So we kind of simplify it, and 1-point perspective is when we can only see the one face of the object or two faces. So it's a little bit hard to explain here, but imagine if I'm going to just draw a horizon line. So that's the horizon line, right? And if we put the object below it, then we tilt it slightly, then the object is trying to, these lines are trying to reach this point over here. Sorry, trying to reach this point over here. And you can see the lines trying to reach this point. It's a little bit more finicky than that. It's not as direct, but yeah. So just imagine lines going to that point. 2-point perspective will make 1-point perspective a little bit easier to understand. So 2-point perspective is when we can see the corner of an object like this. And then if we tilt this down, then you can see the edge lines, the side lines, going towards, well, it'll extend past, like way past, like outside of this. But you can see the lines are trying to go out to those vanishing points we put on the sides, like this. And those lines, these lines, will never try and point to the middle one. Okay? 3-point perspective is the same as 2-point perspective, but on top of those lines going off to the side vanishing points, these lines will attempt, this line, and this line will attempt to reach the point somewhere up here or somewhere down here. So if it's below the horizon line, it will try and reach up here, and if it's above the horizon line, it might try to reach down here. Actually, there you go. So that will make more sense. So this is where you can see 3 faces. So you can see the lines trying to go this way, this way, this way, this way, and the lines trying to go that way, and that way. 2-point perspective is when you can see the lines just trying to go this way, this way, this way, but all 3 of these lines are the same. But as you can see here in the video, because this is real life, we will always kind of see things in 3-point perspective. In 1-point perspective, of course, you only see all this line, this line, this line, this line, and this line and this line are all parallel. So parallel means the lines are going in the same direction. It's only these lines that are going off into the point in the distance. So how do we use this? So if you want something dramatic, you either use 1-point or 3-point perspective, in my opinion. If you want something more realistic, you use 2-point perspective, and you'll see this quite a lot in life. Or the thing I can recommend is try and draw your street. If you tried and drew your street, if you were standing right in the middle of the street, so imagine that's the horizon line, you're standing somewhere about here, and then all you'd see from your street is this. All right, and then imagine you're like in a cul-de-sac. So there's that circle, and then you got houses, house, house, house. I'm doing a very basic idea, right? So this is 1-point perspective where all the points, all the corner points are trying to reach this point here. Now, in another example, if we go to 2-point perspective, so this can look very dramatic. If I try and redo the scene, but in 2-point perspective, it would probably look a little something like this. So this is vanishing point 1, this is vanishing point 2. Let's see. So the corner of this house would then be here, and instead of this line going straight, this line would come and try and meet up with this vanishing point. And this bottom line, which was straight, would try and come up to this vanishing point. This line would remain the same parallel as this one, and these lines would remain the same. They would try and go to this vanishing point over here. Okay, and then you would have this line parallel, this line parallel, this line parallel, this line parallel, and then you would have your roof, and this line would try and meet this one. And then from there, if you wanted to add the little cul-de-sac, you could do the same thing. So this line, if you imagine a square around it, this line would be straight, but if we were to add the cul-de-sac, it would be somewhere around here, and then it would match up with this vanishing point, would match up with this vanishing point, and then you would try and draw a circle here, and these lines from the cul-de-sac would converge down there. So this is what it would look like in 1-point perspective, very dramatic. This is what it would look like in 2-point perspective, very contained, self-contained. 3-point perspective would look even a little more different. So if you have a horizon line, and then let's say, yeah, we'll put the third vanishing point up there. So what would happen here is this line would be the only one that's the same, since we're going to use that as our focal point. That's the same. Then we would need to draw a line to the vanishing point from there and there. Okay, and then from the top, let's say that's the top of the house, we're going to draw a line here and draw a line here. Then this side of the house, which we'll define over here, will come to this point over here. And then this point of the house we'll say is over here, will also come to this line over here. Okay, and then 1, 2, 3, those are the edges of the house, roughly. And then maybe you can draw a roof and then do the same thing. But you see how stretched it is? And then from here, if we wanted to draw the cul-de-sac, this one's a little tricky because it's a flat plane, but we'll make it work. It's gonna come to about here. So that's this line over, sorry, that's this line over here. Is now this line over here. And we would do the same thing. We just join up the lines. We draw a circle in there, and then we would draw it like that. So I hope that kind of explains in a way how all the perspectives work and where to use them. 1-point perspective, very, very dramatic. 2-point perspective is you want to make it quite realistic. 3-point perspective, I suppose, in a way, is if you want to create a dramatic sense of scale. So this will create dramatic sense of motion, while this one would create a dramatic sense of scale. The buildings are huge, or the buildings can be very small. I hope you enjoyed this video tutorial. Sorry if the page moved around a lot, or if I kind of skipped over words. If you have any questions, please leave them as a comment below.